Hello everyone. So today we are starting with chapter 4 of NCERT textbook, and in this chapter we will focus on determining the equilibrium level of income. So firstly we will read about basics, then few assumption, then there are two approaches to determine the equilibrium level of income, then full employment equilibrium, underemployment equilibrium and overemployment equilibrium, and finally investment multiplier. So in this particular video, we will cover these three topics, in the next one these two, and in the last this one. So let's dive in. Now we know that AS is equal to Y, aggregate supply is equal to national income, and income earned would be consumed or saved, right? AD, which is aggregate expenditure that different sectors are willing to incur, is nothing but C plus I. So C is consumption expenditure and I is investment expenditure. So households wants to purchase goods and services, so they want to incur expenditure on consumption, and producers want to incur expenditure on investment. So the theoretical model which we will read in this chapter is given by Professor John Maynard Keynes. So as per the Keynesian theory, an economy is in equilibrium, that is in state of rest, when aggregate demand for goods and services is equal to aggregate supply, which means AD is equal to AS. AD is C plus I, AS is C plus S, because AS is equal to Y and Y is equal to C plus S. C got cancelled and I is equal to S. So whenever AD is equal to AS, S become necessarily equal to investment. This means that there are two approaches to determine the equilibrium level of income. The first one is the AD and AS approach, and the second one is savings and investment approach. And in the Keynesian analysis, income and output are synonymous. The variables like aggregate demand, aggregate supply, savings, and investments, they all are planned variable. They are ex ante variables. Now let's proceed to the assumptions. So it's a two sector model, which means that there are only two sectors involved to determine the equilibrium level of income, and they are household and firms, which means there is no government and foreign sector involved to determine the equilibrium level of income. Then the autonomous investment. So investment is constant. It is not influenced by level of income. So doesn't matter the level of income, the investment is going to be fixed. Then we have important assumption of fixed price level. So price level here is constant, and the price level which we are talking is the general price level, and the general price level is the average price of all goods and services. And last assumption is that equilibrium income is to be determined in the context of short run. So let's read the AD and AS approach. So as per the Keynesian theory, the equilibrium level of income is determined when aggregate demand is equal to total output, that is aggregate supply. Now aggregate demand comprises of two components. The first one is the consumption expenditure and the second one is investment expenditure. So consumption expenditure, it varies directly with the level of income, which means consumption rises with increase in income. As we have assumed that investment is autonomous, so it would be same no matter what would be the level of income. So the AD curve would be represented by C plus I curve in the income determination analysis, and the AS curve is represented by C plus S curve, and it is depicted by the 45-degree line. Why 45-degree line? Because 45-degree line would feature that every point on the AS curve has the same horizontal and vertical coordinates. So let's understand how to determine the equilibrium level of income using an example. So here we have income, that's in, it is in rupees crores. Then we have consumption. This is saving. This is investment, which is fixed. As we can see, it is 40 crores. AD is C plus I and AS is C plus S. If you have the consumption function and then someone will ask you to determine the equilibrium level of income, so how will you proceed? So let's just see that. So what is C? C is made up from autonomous consumption. Then by is what? It is induced consumption, right? And what is MPC? It is change in consumption upon change in income. So basically it is the rate of change of consumption as income changes, right? So we know that at zero level of income consumption is 40, which means this is C bar. And how much is the change? It is from 40 to 120, means the change is 80. So change in C is 80 and change in income is 100. So if I have to find MPC, it would be 80 upon 100, that is 0.8. So here I have derived the consumption function. This is my C. So if I have to find AD, it is nothing but C plus I. What is C? 40 plus 0.8y plus 40. This is 80 plus 0.8y. AD is equal to AS and AD is equal to Y. So 80 plus 0.y is equal to Y. This would be 80 plus 0.2y and y would be 400. So this is the equilibrium level of income. As at equilibrium, AD is equals to AS. And if I have to find consumption at this level of income, so I will put here 400 and then my consumption would be 360. So this is how numerically we can determine the equilibrium level of income. So as per the Keynes, the economy would be in equilibrium when AD is equal to AS. But here we can see that at zero level of income, AD is greater than AS. Till your income is 300, your AD is greater than AS, which means there is a situation of excess demand. But at this point, your AD is equal to AS. But after that, our AS is greater than AD. So this is my curve. AD is C plus I curve. This 45-degree line represents the aggregate supply. Here we have measured the income and along y-axis we have measured the aggregate demand. AD curve shows the desired level of expenditure by consumers and by firms corresponding to each level of income. And the economy is in equilibrium at point E where the AD curve is intersecting the AS curve, that is the 45-degree line. So at point E, the level of desired spending, that is AD, on consumption and investment. So it is a desired spending on consumption and investment. It is exactly equal the level of total output. So that is the reason why OY is the equilibrium level of output, or you can say income, corresponding to the point E. When AD is equal to AS in Keynesian analysis, it is the situation of effective demand. Now, what is effective demand? Effective demand refers to that level of AD which becomes effective because it is equal to AS. So basically in the Keynesian analysis, when our AD is equal to AS, it is called the effective demand. So we have read that here the economy is in equilibrium. But before this point, we know that AD is more than AS, and after this point, our AS is more than AD. So which means that in these regions we are not at equilibrium. So how to achieve the equilibrium level of income when AD is more than AS? So what does that mean? It means that your planned spending, because these are the planned variables, right? So your planned spending is more than your planned output. So there is a situation of excess demand in the market. So when AD is greater than AS, the AD curve lies above the 45-degree line. It means that consumers and firms together would be buying more goods than firms are willing to produce. As a result, your planned inventory would fall below the desired level. So to understand this better, so let's just go through this example. So suppose there is a firm which manufactures shirt and it starts the year with an inventory of 100 shirts. They are expecting to sell 1000 shirts and want to keep inventory of 100 shirts. Okay, but there is a excess demand in the market. As a result, the sales had been 1050. Now firm have to sell 50 shirts from its inventory stock. As a result, the inventory would be of 50 shirts, which means the inventory has fallen down below the desired level. Now, to bring the inventory back to the desired level is 100 shirts, the firm would resort to increase the output until it is back to 0y level. So, which means that this process of increasing the output will continue till the economy is back in equilibrium and AD becomes equal to AS and there is no further tendency to change. Let's just have a quick recap. So, when our AD is more than AS, our planned spending is more than planned output. AD curve would lie above the 45-degree line. It means that consumers and firms, they are buying more goods than firms are willing to produce. So there is a situation of excess demand. Planned inventory would fall below the desired level. Now to bring back inventory to the desired level, firm would increase output until the economy is in equilibrium and AD becomes equal to AS. And the next situation is when our AS is more than AD. So which means we are talking about this portion. So when AS is more than AD, it is a situation of excess supply. D curve lies below the 45-degree line. So it means that consumers and firms together buying less goods than firms are willing to produce. As a result, your planned inventory would rise. So firm wants to keep this much inventory and they want to sell 1000 shirts and they start their year with an inventory of 100 shirts. Now because of low demand, the sales is only shirts, which means that their 200 shirts would be left and 100 would be their desired stock, which means now the stock is of 300 shirts. So to clear this unwanted increase in inventory, and what is unwanted increase in inventory? It is 200 shirts. Now to clear this, firms would decrease the output until the economy is back at the output level 0y, where AD becomes equal to AS and there is no further tendency to change. So let's again have a quick recap. So when our AS is more than AD, which means our planned spending is less than planned output. So there is a situation of excess supply in the market. AD curve would lie below the 45-degree line. Consumers and firms buying less goods than firms are willing to produce. As a result, in planned inventory would rise and firm plan to decrease output until the economy is in equilibrium, which means AD is equal to AS.